This is the Potager Knits podcast. I'm coming to you here from my garden as usual. You can find me on Instagram at Potager Knits and on Ravelry at Orangeosamore. You can find those links down in the description, as well as any show notes for this episode. That would be any yarns that I talk about, patterns, or what have you. If I seem a little tired today, it's because I am. I did not get much sleep last night. Work was stressful. I'm just completely exhausted. My eye keeps twitching and I can't get it to stop, and it's driving me nuts. Yeah, so let's jump right into things. So I'm gonna start with my finished objects. So my first finished object is actually some yarn. So last week I was talking about how I was starting to spin yarn, and this is my newest venture. It's got too much twist in it and I don't know how to fix that, and I still don't know what I'm doing, but it's only my second try. So I also used that wool wash on it, and I washed all of our socks with that wool wash that I talked about last week. But anyway, actually it's growing on me, the sandalwood. But anyway, so here it is. I don't really have a lot of information on this actual fiber. It's undyed wool of some sort, but other than that, that's all I know. It definitely drafted a lot easier than the alpaca. So my plans for this, it's technically a finished object because I finished spinning it, but I do want to get into dyeing yarn. So this is next up on my agenda, is I'm probably going to start learning how to dye yarn, and I might as well use this because, I don't know, I don't really like tan that much, and I have another ball that's similar to this. I don't remember if it was from this run of fiber or if it was from that first fiber that I got that had a little bit of sparkle in it. I just don't remember. But either way, I'm gonna probably dye them both. Because I've been going on runs, I've noticed some things that are growing around here that I think I could utilize in some natural dyeing, which is what I'm really interested in. So this will probably be getting dyed in the very near future. I'm very excited. But I need to go to a thrift store first so that I can get some like old pots to use and some other various things, because I want to obviously have separate pots and stuff for dyeing. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object are my Hermione socks. So I love these. My only thing is I noticed as I was casting off that the one sock is smaller than the other one. And at first I was like, oh, maybe I didn't knit enough rows, but it's the same amount of rows. And I realized what happened is because that needle broke on me in the middle of working on these, I switched to a different needle. And the first one was bamboo and the second one was metal. So my gauge was different. So it's a little frustrating, but they both fit, so it's fine. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, and especially, they haven't been blocked yet. I just have them in my sock blocker. I think it's going to be absolutely fine. This yarn is really stretchy, and, yeah, they'll fit. But, yeah, so those are my Hermione socks. The yarn is my Knitcraft and Knittery Chroma in Experiment 39 that I got from the Quiet Queers Craft Along, and yeah, I don't know. I'm really glad that I finished these, and I'm actually thinking that I might knit another pair of these eventually with that space yarn that I started trying to knit the Scatterbee socks in that I kind of gave up on. I think I've definitely settled on, I know that I like to do cuff down socks. The toe up, it just isn't my style, and it wasn't turning out that it fit my foot very well. So yeah, I think this would be a good pattern for that space yarn because it's kind of like speckly and variegated, and I think it'll look cool with the pattern. Sorry, I keep burping. I got myself some coffee so that I'm more awake and so that I can get some more knitting done, hopefully, before I inevitably fall asleep. Whips. Start with Citron. So I haven't actually worked on Citron, but I want to bring it back out because I want to remind myself how much I like this. So this was, once again, that pattern from Knitty that I've always wanted to knit. and I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I even had bought the yarn. I bought this years ago on KnitPicks, and it was just kind of sitting in my stash, and I finally decided that I wanted to take it with me to the beach and then knit like 2 rows on it. But this is nice, and it's a pretty portable project, so I have a lot of meetings tomorrow at work, so I'm thinking that I might take this with me as my new work knitting for a while, because it is pretty repetitive. The only rows that really end up being like any thing that you have to pay too much attention to are, I think, either the increase or the decrease rows. You have to like count a little bit more. But I think for the most part, when I'm sitting in meetings, it's just knit or purl. So that, yeah, I'm gonna take this with me to work because I really want to work on this, but I also, like, I hate saying this, like, I really want to work on this, but I also really want to work on this so that my nice size 6 needles are not being held hostage, because I did have to borrow these when I was working on the adventurer hats, because it's my only pair of size 6 circulars, and that's my own fault. Like, I could totally buy more, but I really like these and I haven't wanted to buy more. So anyway, yeah, Citron, that's going with me to work tomorrow. I only have one other work in progress. I now have no socks on the needles. I literally just finished the Hermione socks today. So my other whip is my weekender sweater, and I actually got the front done. So you can see there's the cast off edge, and these are the 2 shoulders. Oh, I'm holding it backwards technically. There you go. So here's the cast off edge, that's gonna be the neck, and then here are the 2 shoulders. So I have the whole thing, the front done, so now I just need to pick up the back part again and do all that, and then sleeves. Honestly, this part worked up a lot faster than I thought it was going to. This is not a perfect sweater by any means. You can see there's little blips here and there. My knitting has not been consistent, and I've been picking this project up and putting it down a lot, so unfortunately that's leading to some inconsistencies, but you know what? I don't really care that much. It's not like I spent that much on this yarn. That's why I specifically bought some more inexpensive yarn, was because I knew this was going to take me a while to make. I'm excited for it to be fall so that I can have this to wear. I tried it on kind of like as much as I can at this point, just because I was like, oh, this seems so big. I mean, it's supposed to be boxy. I'm just not used to buying sweaters that are bigger because, I don't know, I always worry that they look weird on me. But no, I think the size is going to be really nice. Especially, I'm not supposed to, but I wear leggings to work a lot, so I think it's going to be big enough that I can wear leggings under it and it'll just look comfy. So yeah, that's my whip. Just kind of projects that are coming up in the near future. So that I'm hoping to finish. Citron I'm going to work at work. I said that. For spinning, I brought out the fiber today so I can talk about it. So this is the magenta fiber that I was talking about that I had. And yeah, it seems a little felted, so I'm concerned. But I'm going to split it probably into thirds and see if I can draft it at all, like just mess around with it and see if I can draft it. It might be okay once I split it a little more. So if I can get this to work, then I will be spinning this next, and then that's all the fiber that I have. I don't have any other fiber. So, but I'm also trying not to buy any more right now. As much as I want to keep it up with spinning, I really need to save my money up, and I really should start focusing more on knitting because I have a lot of yarn and a lot of projects that I want to work on. Another thing that's actually not related to either of those is I just finished talking to my friend Jess, and she's going to come over and help me repaint our coffee table. So when we moved in here, my friend Stacy very kindly gave us a really nice coffee table. It's pretty low to the ground. It's about level with our sofa. But it's perfect for us because it's the only big surface we have for when we want to play board games. So people have to sit on the floor, but like, whatever. So because we had like a very like mod, I don't even know, we have a gray sofa, and I was very into like, I want like primary colors, bright, punchy, to go with the gray sofa. So I had like these yellow and blue pillows And I was like, I'm just gonna paint this coffee table red because it was a little worn down. Since then, I've kind of grown to hate the red. It's just so bright, and we don't have those pillows anymore, so it doesn't look great. So Jess came over to paint with me like 2 years ago, I want to say, and we were joking about painting the coffee table space because I did a little painting while we were painting. That's just space. And we were like, yeah, we'll do that eventually, whatever. Because she does really beautiful paintings. And if I remember, I'll put her link I'll put the link for her Instagram down in the description. You should check out her art. She really makes really beautiful art. But anyway, she texted me earlier and was like, hey, you still want to paint that coffee table? I was like, hell yeah, you want to come over tomorrow? So we're going to paint the coffee table tomorrow. At least get it started. I mean, it's going to take a while. We're going to have to sand it and prime it and all that so that we don't chip away the paint. But yeah, so my coffee table's going to look cool. So I'll definitely share that when it's done. Acquisitions. I have acquisitions and I'm getting more yarn tomorrow. I know. I said I wasn't going to buy any more yarn. I said I wasn't going to buy any more yarn. I didn't buy this yarn. The yarn that I'm getting tomorrow, I did. But it was a D-stash and it was $4. This yarn, my dad and stepmom were at a art festival, like arts and crafts festival this weekend, and they were like, hey, do you want anything while we're there? And I was like, you don't have to get anything. And they're like, there's yarn here. They texted me like in the middle of the day on Saturday, there's yarn here. Okay, yeah, if you want to get me some yarn. So they sent me pictures and I was like, honestly, just get me whatever, you know. I really need to get out of my rut of just buying the same like blue and purple yarn over and over again. I need to get some more colors. And gray. I have so much gray yarn. Anyway, so my dad brought this stuff to me yesterday when we met up so that I could give him the hat. So yeah, this is from Wood Wool Stone. So there's the little, there you go. So this is Kinked and Twisted Small Batch Artisan Yarns dyed by hand. This is hand spun merino. So there it is. It's this it's not showing up great on camera, but it's kind of this like peachy pink color. So that is 2.6 ounces. It doesn't say how many yards, which it's hand spun, so that's fine. But 2.6 ounces of this. It's not like super consistent, but it's fairly consistent hand spun. So yeah, I'll have to definitely think of something cool to do with this. It looks like it's probably enough to do a hat. So maybe get some contrasting colors and do a cool hat out of this. I don't know, but this is really pretty. I'm really interested to see what I figure out to do with that. And this other one, I'm actually really excited about for a different reason. So this is light sport weight, 60% merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon, 434 yards. Oh, I guess they're all called Kinked and Twisted. I guess they don't have colorway names, but it's this like, I don't know what you would call that color. It's not, it's like a little more on the orangey side of like reddish pink, and then a kind of lighter denim-y blue. I don't know. It's not even denim-y blue, but it's the blue is a little bit less consistently dyed. It's a little more lighter and darker, whereas the red is a little bit more consistently dyed. So I got 2 of those. And actually, this is enough for me to do a rift tee, I realized. Because, like, that's kind of what I've been complaining about when I'm talking about my yarn stash is, oh, well, I don't really have enough of anything to do anything like a garment. But this is enough to do a rift tee. So I was like, thank you guys for getting me enough. They had no idea either. I already have my Swift set up from when I was making my hand spun into a skein, so I might go through my stash and cake everything up. I really like having my yarn in cakes. I don't like having to cake up my yarn when I want to start a project, even though I know it looks prettier. I think some people think it, I don't know. I think it looks prettier to have a bunch of skeins on a shelf, but I know realistically, if I want to start a project, I don't want to have to dig through a bunch of skeins and then make them into cakes. I'd rather just already have them be cakes. I prefer to knit from cakes. Anyway, I digress. So those are my acquisitions. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about yarn-wise? I don't think so. I realized as I was planning this today that spindles look suspiciously like little tiny rapiers on guard. So, now it is the time in the show when we move to Delightful. So if this is your first time here, or if you don't remember, Delightful is my little mini podcast within a podcast where I talk about things that I find really interesting and bring a smile to my face, and boy do I need that this week. It's been a rough week and it's only Wednesday. So today I'm going to talk about swords. So that's why today's episode is called En Garde, is because I'm going to talk about swords. I have more of a history with swords than you probably would expect me to. Where did my delight with swords, where did my sword thing start? I don't know. When I was a kid, I always talk about this when we talk about like things that you look back on and you're like, yep, what a queer kid. I didn't care about gender roles as a child. Nobody's gonna tell me what to do. So I think one of my vivid memories of childhood that involves swords is when I got really into Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I got both play sets, like dress-up sets. So I had the Esmeralda dress-up set, but I also had the Prince dress-up set, which resulted in the Esmeralda skirt and like her accessories, but also the like armor chest plate and a sword, because like, yeah, girls can have swords too. That's how I like to play when I was a kid though, is whatever, I'm gonna be whoever I want. So growing up, I did really wish that I could learn actual sword fighting. I had really desperately wanted to do fencing, but it just was not really accessible, and like I don't think there was even a fencing team at my school. I remember when I was looking at colleges, I specifically had, kind of as a joke, put on my little, because I'm very organized, I had like an Excel spreadsheet. I only applied to one college, but when I was looking at different schools and trying to decide what I wanted to do, one of my qualifiers of whether I wanted to go to the college was whether they had a fencing team. I don't even know how to fence, but I was just fascinated by the idea of fencing. And then there's always the joke about two swords. So when I first started dating my wife, she was in a play where she played a man, because she did a lot of Shakespeare back in that time. She's actually doing Shakespeare now too. And it was King John, and she was playing the bastard, and at one point during the play she had two swords, and then that's why I always joke, I was like, that's what sold me on her. She had two swords, like lesbian's dream, two swords. So stupid. So my first actual encounter with like actual sword fighting was when I was in a play with her. This is the first play we did together, Cyrano de Bergerac. You can see up here in the corner, I played 6 characters in that show. It sounds more impressive than it was. I mean, it was mostly background characters, but my main character was Viscount de Valvert. So he's a douchebag, and he gets into a sword fight with Cyrano. So I actually got to do stage combat, which is different than real combat. It's not like when you see combat on a stage during a play that it's just like, well, here's a sword, figure it out. No, we had a basically combat choreographer. I don't know what the actual term is, but basically you learn choreography. So we went through it step by step really slow, and we were using metal rapiers. We would do it step by step really slow. We had fight call every rehearsal. I stabbed him in the ribs once with the rapier, not like pierced skin. The thing wasn't sharp, it was pretty blunt, but probably bruised the guy. But he was really sweet, so Jeff would never hold anything against me. But yeah, so I got to sword fight, and it was really cool, and I still have pictures of it, and I look at them and I'm like, that is the coolest that I've ever been. But yeah, so I still have my script. That was a really fun show to do. It was hot, August, in a barn, but I got to play with swords. Not play with swords. I don't want to say play with swords. I was responsible with my sword, but I got to use a sword in the show and carry one around. And I felt very powerful having my rapier on my hip. That's not the end of my relationship with swords. So as you probably know, because I think I've talked about it enough at this point, I got married last year to my wife, and as we were coming up on our actual wedding, in October, we actually volunteered at something called Pumpkin Fest. So it's one of those outdoor festival kind of things, like fall festival. There's lots of craft vendors and stuff. We were volunteering with the theater, and there were these guys there representing HEMA. So if you haven't heard of HEMA before, it stands for Historical European, Historical European Martial Arts. Sword fighting. It's pretty much sword fighting. But instead of just being like, aha, let's play with swords, it's a little more formal. Like, you actually get to learn how to fight with swords. Like, historical techniques for sword fighting. They actually have a bunch of texts that they found and have worked through and are teaching the historical way to fight with swords. So we found out about them, and I was a little wary walking up to the booth, I remember, because I was like, this is a bunch of dudes, and like, this seems like it could be a hotbed for just like some toxic masculinity. Like, so I was very leery walking up to the booth, but I was also like, Becca, there's sword fighting. Becca, I want a sword fight. Because another thing about me is I am completely the kind of person who just literally, like, I just want to try everything. Like, it's my cat's butt. What a beautiful soul. But I just really like to try stuff. I have a passion for doing some things very well and a passion for just trying something once, and that's all I need. So seeing that there was an opportunity for me to possibly learn how to sword fight, I was like, I need to do this. So we went and talked to them, and they were wonderful, honestly. And I can't remember who all was there. I know that the guy who was running it at the time was there, but for some reason I can't remember who else was there that day. I'm sure Becca does, but she's not here right now to help jog my memory. Oh, and it's gonna rain. Could you just please not? Yeah, we talked to them for a while. They specifically had shirts where they're like, give a girl a sword. Like, they had just done a workshop day that was specifically to try to recruit more women into their organization, because they noticed that that was something they were lacking, and they were like, hey, we really don't want to seem like we're just like a boys club. We want it to be something that is open to everybody. So we were like, okay, let's sign up for more information, let's do it. And then a few weeks later, they're like, or I think at that time they were like, hey, just so you know, starting October 14th, the day after we got married, we're going to be starting our first beginner's longsword course. And I was like, well, I don't know. I've always been into the idea of like rapiers and like smaller swords. I'm 5'1", 5'2" on a good day, so the idea of a huge longsword, I was like, I don't know about that. Will I even be able to pick it up? So, you know, we're like, yeah, maybe we'll check it out, but we were mostly just like, yeah, okay, we're getting married. We're probably not going to want to, like, drop the money on that now, you know. We'll probably just wait and maybe look out for the next one. But then we started talking about, oh, there's a rainbow. Hold on. Can you see it? Oh, wait. Can you see it? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm gay. Yeah, so essentially, after we found out about the sword fighting class, I was like, man, Becca, I really want to do this. Like, you know how much I'm excited about swords and how I'm so interested in swords. Like, I really want to do it. And she was like, let's do it together. Are you okay if I do it with you? I was like, yeah, I don't want to go by myself anyway, so if you want to do it too, okay. And it was like $90 for like an 8-week course, which honestly, $90 for an 8-week sword fighting course, even though it was the first time that they did it, I mean, so anyway, as I was saying, it was $90 for an 8-week, 6 or 8 week, I can't remember anymore, but for an introductory sword fighting course, which, like, that's a good deal. Like, even though it was the first time, I was like, hey, like, that's nothing to, I'll be their guinea pigs, I don't care. So, yeah, for 6 weeks. I think Becca missed 2, I missed 1 because I was sick. I'm pretty sure I just had cramps, and I was like, I can't lift this sword. But it was interesting. So the type of sword fighting that we learned was German longsword. So there's a lot of German words that I learned, which I have since forgotten. I learned proper form. I learned how to properly hold a longsword. We mostly practiced for the first few weeks with these like plastic, but still very hefty and heavy swords and very minimal equipment. I don't think there's any pictures of me in the equipment, but if I can find one on their page of me and all the equipment, it's hilarious, because most of the equipment, unfortunately, is made for men, and definitely not men of my stature. So I was drowning in this equipment, but it's really important to wear safety equipment because you're literally hitting someone else with a sword. And it's definitely, like, very sportsmanlike. Like, it's not like people are, well, you're not supposed to, like, literally pummel people. Like, the hits are very much like, hey, I got you. And that, like, and I think they're called bouts. Like, you'll spar, like, with the swords, and, like, you protect yourself, and then you get hit once, and that's it. Like, that's that, they got a point. It's not like they're not supposed to continue hitting you. It's like a judge will call and say, yeah, they got a point on you. So we were, like, sparring, and for some reason they kept matching me up with the same guy. Now, when we were doing just, like, basic, like, drill type stuff, they tried to mix us up a lot, but for some reason when we started sparring, they kept pairing me up with the same guy who had a lot of previous martial arts experience, which, like, I have 0. I took dance classes, I played softball, and I bowled. So, like, martial arts is completely out of my comfort zone. But he had previous martial arts experience, and at one point they had to scold him because he, like, we had helmets on, like the fencing masks with a full helmet on and everything, but instead of stopping when he hit me during our, like, sparring, he, like, would hit me, like, 5 times in succession with the pommel on my head. So, like, I would have to stop once they finally called it, and, like, because he just kept fucking hitting me in the head. Like, so that was probably the worst part of the whole class. I had such a good time otherwise, but I really wish that I hadn't been continually paired with that douchebag, honestly. Just gonna be honest, he was a douchebag. He shouldn't have been hitting me in the head with his pommel. But yeah, so I've done the sword fighting. I know I have at least one picture, so I'll try to put it up of, like, hey, look, here's me. Did a sword fight. Up next for me, along the lines of sword fighting, but just swords in general, is I'm really, really interested in blacksmithing. And there are quite a few places in my area, like a surprising amount of places where you can do beginning blacksmithing type stuff. And it is a dream of mine to eventually have my own, like, little forge at my house, and I've actually found some videos that show you how to set up, like, a very, very simple one in your backyard. Because I would like to make stuff. I think it would be cool to be able to, like, make stuff. So, yeah, I'm eventually looking at probably not making a sword, but maybe making some sort of knife or something cool with metal, and learn some metal smithing. I've done metal smithing already, and I'll talk about that at some point, but, and I raised my hand up because it's our wedding rings. But blacksmithing specifically, I'm very, very interested in. So yeah, I think swords are delightful. So now we're going to get to the ramble section of today. I feel like there's like a ton of things that I want to talk about, and I didn't write them all down. Which is my own fault. And this video is getting really long, and I'm really tired, so I'm probably not going to ramble as long as I had originally planned on it. Because I just want to go knit. Well, and wind all my yarn up. So anyway, I was going to talk about designs because, like, I have been working on more designs. The next one that I'm working on probably won't be released until, like, next spring because it's more of a garden-related thing. Trying to stay on brand. Yeah, I've been more inspired recently than I've been in a long time to do designs, and it's because I've gotten so back into knitting and stuff, and this is definitely my thing, and it's really nice to have a thing. And I feel like knitting has always kind of been my thing, but I resisted it for a while. I don't know why, but I was just like, no, not really. Like, I like to do it, and I'm really good at it, but I don't know. But no, I'm gonna embrace it. Knitting, fiber arts, it's my thing. And the other thing is, really, really good thing that happened yesterday, I found out that I did get into Rocky. So I'll be doing Rocky Horror this Halloween. So the last week of October, I'm probably not gonna have a podcast, just warning you there. Or if I do, it's gonna be pre-filmed content. I don't know if I'll really be able to film anything of the show because of copyright reasons. I'm gonna have to make a costume probably, because usually we're responsible for costume ourselves, so I'll have to costume me and Becca. We're both phantoms, which if you've never seen Rocky Horror Live, and I'm talking about like the musical Rocky Horror Live, not just a shadow cast in front of the movie, this is the full musical Rocky Horror Show, not Rocky Horror Picture Show, it's the Rocky Horror Show. So we're phantoms, so we're like the chorus basically, like the background singers. But honestly, we're on stage the entire show. Like, I don't think there's a single scene that we're not somehow there. So it's a lot of work. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm gonna have to make us costume. So maybe I'll make a video about that and I'll post it that week. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to have content for that week, but it's just not gonna be a vlog, or it's not gonna be a podcast, because I'm gonna have the way that they're doing shows this year. Usually it was just like some days you would have a 7 p.m. show, some days you'd have a midnight show, maybe there'd be one, like I think Halloween he usually did a 7 p.m. and a midnight. Well, all of the shows are double, so there's a 7 p.m. and a midnight show every time we have a show this year. I already, thankfully, earlier in the year took off on November 1st, so the day after Halloween, because I know for sure October 31st, November 1st, November 2nd, all 3 of those days there's doubles. So I was like, I can't go into work after doing a midnight show an hour away from my house in Gettysburg. I can't do that. And then have to work, maybe have like a small nap in the middle of the afternoon, and then have to drive down to the show again. So I'm thinking that day I'm gonna sleep in. Maybe I'll go to market in the morning, since I'm not gonna probably wake up to go to market on Saturday. I'm just gonna enjoy my time. So yeah, I'm gonna go cake up all my yarn. Maybe decide if I'm gonna start something new tonight, since I only have 2 projects on the needles, which is like nothing. That's like nothing, guys. And we'll go from there. I was gonna go for a run, but because it looks like it might still pour again, that's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna enjoy my night and relax, because I'm very stressed and I need to chill. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, subscribe, share, tell me about it, whatever, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one, guys. Bye.